Hey, this is Troy Taylor with the Championship Football Coaches Clinic podcast, sponsored by Reps, Virtual Reality, First Down Playbook, Rack Coach, Tip of the Spear, the Top Hopper, and Sports Workbook. I got one of the shining stars, the rising stars in the profession today. One of the guys who the guys go to get ready to go to the NFL draft, and that is Coach Logan Tillman. Coach, thank you for coming on today. For the guys that are watching or the guys that will watch, tell us a little bit about yourself, Coach, and where you're from.
Yeah, I appreciate it. First off, thank you for having me here. I'm a small Midwestern town guy. I'm from Peoria, Illinois. I call it the armpit of the Midwest, but had some great times there. I was originally a basketball player, and ended up being better at football, then got lucky to be able to play in college, played at Michigan, graduated there, went to Akron for a year, started a master's, and finished at UTEP. Had a good time playing for Coach Kugler there, learned a lot of good stuff. I still teach till this day, so we'll come back to that later. But then after that, I got lucky. I went to the 49ers, had a cup of coffee, and got fired on my day off, which ended up being one of the best things that can happen, So I was back home, teaching, which is a huge fundamental of my program. Any athlete that comes, whether you're a 7-year-old or you're an NFL vet or a Pro Bowler, we're going to teach you something to help you, develop your process. And, not to get off topic, but, I ask guys all the time is, when has anybody ever pulled up to your crib, let's do one-on-one pass rush? When has anybody ever came to the house and said, let's do inside a run? It doesn't happen. So that's where, the genesis of the O-line specific training, for my business has been so awesome. But going back, so was teaching all that good stuff, played in the AAF. So if you can remember Johnny Football's first time back playing for Coach Mike Singletary, we're out there together, had a great time. And then that shut down, got fired on my day off again. Went to the XFL, and all between this time was coaching high school ball, started Peoria Manual, my high school, Reno High, and then was in the XFL, had a great time, got fired on the day off again. Pandemic hits, then I get lucky to be able to work with some of the backups from the Bucs when they can't go into facility for about 2 or 3 months. Big Eric Stinney, big Brad Seaton for about 3 months, about what I do now with O-line training. Was coaching up at Duncanville High School, had a good time, then went to the Spring League. Was there. Everything got shut down again, if you can believe it. But then just been going hell on wheels, with everything O-line specific training. We see about 1,200 O-line athletes a year and about 50, professional offensive linemen come through the program so far.
Right on, Coach. So George Fisher, he's watching on LinkedIn. George, if you have any questions, ask Coach. Looking forward to your insights, he says. So, Coach, who are some of the coaches that influenced you?
Yeah, so there's a smorgasbord of them, but just off the top of my head, I would say Darrell Funk, one of my first O-line coaches who's still at BYU now, kicking butt, doing a great job. I mean, then when you think of the OGs, Howard Mudge, guys like that, can ramble all day on, but Coach Mike Singletary, huge. And then Coach Sean Kugler is probably one of the biggest influences that I can, speak on. Even to this day, anybody that comes to my program, you ask them what a high leg is and where we're attacking, they should be able to tell you, right? And it's not, anything that I came up with, but it's something that I learned from Coach Cougs. He's learned from someone else. So Coach Cougs, Coach Mike Singletary, John Haskins, and there's just so many. And Coach Bill Meyer, probably one of the biggest ones. So like I was saying earlier, when I was able to get that opportunity in the Spring League, it's because Coach Meyer gave me a call and I was first available. So, 25, able to be in, pro football as a head, line coach was awesome. But it was just due to that relationship with Coach Bill Meyer. So those dudes are probably the biggest influence.
Yeah, Coach. So I'm going to present your Twitter. You got a great Twitter. I mean, heck, you got 34,000 followers.
And there's more out there, which is crazy.
Yeah,
there's
Coach,
more O-linemen out there, which is nuts. And it's so interesting in the private sector. Like, guys that are live with us can probably speak to it. There's probably about over 500,000 O-line athletes on the globe. So I haven't even reached like 0.1% market penetration, but there's a few of them on there.
Man, Coach, I never even thought of it like that, man. Okay, so yeah, Coach.
No, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, the name of your company, Coach, is L2FBA. What does that stand for, Coach?
Logan Tulley-Tillman Football Academy.
Oh, right on, Coach.
Yes,
so
sir.
For all ages.
Yep. And so was real lucky in about 2014, Jake Swerple was my first client, so I went from just, young fella that wanted to get better to, how I was able to provide for myself, for Chipotle, stuff like that. Now it's been able to provide a living for me and my fam. So
Right on, man. And I see failure's never final. I see that on here, Coach. That must be important to you. What does that mean to you?
Yeah, so that's the name of my nonprofit. So I founded that in about 2018 when I was back home coaching, you know what I mean, and teaching. And it just means that, you know, the stuff that we go through isn't meant for us. You know, there's a mentor of mine, Vondell Singleton, from the Champs Male Mentor Program in Chicago that, you know, he had such a good point when I went to speak there, you know, that what you go through isn't for you. So Fairs Never Final is where I go to different prisons and, you know, youth detention centers or where anyone wants to listen. I just share my testimony, you know. And there's so many other things that we get to. I'm not going to, you know, water hose you with it, but it's really just trying to share the information that we wish we knew when we were younger to, you know, somebody that's open to hearing it.
Yeah. So I don't know how much you know about this clinic podcast or myself, but we kind of hang our hat on one, changing lives, two, helping get people to the next level, and then three, building champions for life. So it took me like 20 some years of coaching to finally get it down to those three things, man. But that's kind of what we hang our hat on here. So, you know, as soon as I pulled your Twitter up, I go out and I see these guys running to 40, man. You want to talk a little about these guys, Coach?
Yeah, so these are some of the stars from, you know, well, all of them that gave us the opportunity to work with them are stars. But see, these are some of the big fellas that did a good job at the combine. So you'll see, you know, Dawson Deaton up there from. Sorry, can you hear me, Coach?
Yes, sir, I can hear you.
Yeah, so Big Dawson, he's with the Browns now with Coach Callahan out there. And then we had Big Dare. He ran a 4.8, you know, very proud of him. He's going to be in the USFL, XFL, getting back there. Then Big Austin, you know, Deckless, he's playing for the Houston Texans now, doing a great job with him. And Big Obina, you guys probably seen him on HBO Max. But great young man, you know, busting his butt, he's, you know, to earning a career in the league. So proud of those young men.
All right, so when I seen this, Coach, I was interested because I'm very, very old school. And
Yeah.
I asked you about this. Go over all this stuff with me, Coach.
Well, before I do that, Coach, so say that you got a room full of all different learners, okay? Not everybody has the same kind of background in offensive line play like you may have had, right? But I just showed up to your program. How can you get me to own my departure from the line of scrimmage? And how can you get me to drive force through my upfield foot? And it's a trick question because we've never talked. But point being, that's just what these drills are to help the offensive linemen do. Like, for example, probably one of the older big fellas in the program, the more established, probably Ed Ingram from the Vikings, who started with them. And so from Ed Ingram to one of my youngest players, we're all going to have them do these drills to help us own our angle of departure. So I'm with you 1,000%, you know, when it comes to old school, not reinventing the wheel. But, you know, like we said earlier, I think before we were recording, you know, what O-line coach in America has an extra 8 hours for 15 guys? You know, they don't. And then who's doing one-on-one pass rush at home or inside run? So point being, these are just some of the assortment of drills that I have to show the guys to have them craft on their own. And as we get going more, we'll talk a little bit more about the battle rhythm and stuff like that. But just the biggest thing here is helping you take an advantage-based pass set. So if you have anybody out here watching on live, you know, understand, you know, that the game, you know, colors, logos are going to change, but the scheme, alignment, assignments are going to be the same. But, you know, one thing we want to ask ourselves, are we on our angle of departure and are we taking an advantage-based pass set?
Right on, Coach. All right, so you're going to be doing some touring here, Coach. You want to talk a little bit about that and how kids can sign up for that?
Yes, sir. So we're live and direct, O-line specific training, taking over 99 to 2000. Anybody that's watching. So I'm based in Dallas. That's where I live at. So we're training here, and then we're going to be going on the road to Los Angeles. So have some dates in Bakersfield and LA, and then in Dallas. So just like Coach is doing, if anybody's interested in working together, you can scan the QR code or visit my website, which is LT2FBA we got everything you can need on there, along with some instructional videos if dudes are interested. But yeah, so go any and everywhere. The farthest we've been is London, and we'll be back there in France a little bit too. So
wow. So when you go to France and England, are you going out there to train somebody's team, or is it like a camp where kids pay for it, or how's that work?
Yeah, well, so it's O-line by committee on demand. So I don't know if you're privy to something called Orange Theory Fitness.
Oh yeah, I know what that is. That's like it's like a franchise thing where people do like CrossFit or something.
So they got about 7,000 locations, but that's essentially how I run my program. So everybody that's in the area that's interested, that wants to pull up, they'll be able to come and work. And for example, in 2021, when I was out in England, I went to a team called the Northern Knights. So they had their whole squad. And then there was Big Roland, who's in the US now, 3 or 4 athletes that popped up, but there's usually one hub. So for example, in Bakersfield. There's a Frontier High School I'll be boogieing at with them for 2 hours. And there's going to be about 6 or 7 to 8 guys that will probably show up during that time too. But we're open and available.
Hey, right there. It's Zach Turner, coach. Tell me a
Yes,
little bit
sir.
about Zach.
Yeah, so Coach Zach, he's one of the biggest cogs in my program. So I tell guys all the time, you know, no matter what industry that you're in, niche down. So Coach Zach is the photographer that helps us out here in the DFW and be able to capture shots of the O-line, you know, the stereotypical big uglies getting some shine. So love Coach Zach.
Oh, so Zach that's you, coach. Because I was about to say, like, that guy looks just like you, man. Y'all should be pro wrestlers.
Come on, I wish, man.
I don't want to get into a fight with you and that guy, but that's you.
Oh, I used to have it. It's gone now. Believe it.
Yeah, coach. So Zach's a photographer. I'm looking at the name. All right, here we go. The drive start.
Yes,
there
sir.
Talk a little bit about this, coach.
Yeah, so like we were saying earlier, you know, so say that I just pull up to your program, you're from whatever side of the country that I'm at, you know, you got me to be able to drive force through that ground. How do we do that? So this drill here is just really getting us to emphasis on driving everything we got through that upfield big toe to get ourselves back on our angle. Biggest thing, I try to associate terms with guys, right? So you ever seen SpongeBob, coach?
Come on now. 44, man. I might have seen it a few times. Yeah.
I gotta send it to you. But long story short,
I've been called Patrick.
Well, he had to hit his toe through the shoe to hit that break in one of those scenes. I'll send it to you and show it to you. But point being, we got to drive force that ground to get ourselves back on our angle. And biggest thing on this is going to be moving walls, not doors.
Wow. Who is this kid in the do-rag at the end, man?
So there's
kicking to the left.
There's a few of
that
them.
One.
Oh, that's Big Sampson. So he's a offensive tackle at Miami at the U. So that's probably about.
That guy plays for the Miami Hurricanes?
Yeah, this is probably two or 3 years old though.
Where's he from?
He's from Massachusetts.
Woo! All right, Coach, who is that? Who's the guy in the grass in the park that's kicking to the right?
1 sec. So that right there was Big Aaron Stinney.
Him, and I like him.
Yep. So, that's Big Roland. So that's actually in London. So Big Roland, I'm going to post his Twitter when we get off here, but he's an offensive tackle recruit that's here now playing at the New Mexico Military Academy.
How big is he?
6'6", 298.
Okay, I want them too. If that's the two that I want. I mean, what do you think, man? I want to be like Sonny Vaccaro. All right. I mean, I picked Kobe and I picked Jordan and I want LeBron, but I don't get him. That's the two I want, Coach.
Well, what's so dope about the private sector, you know, especially that young man, like, you know, he freaking got on a freaking train in England and rode for about, I think, 2.5 hours just to get some work in. So what's so dope about the private sector, you know, is that you really are able to niche down, you know, really deal with the guys that really want to get pressed and pushed. So shout out to that young man.
Yeah. Joey Farrell, he's a big fan of our YouTube channel, Totem Pole Nation, and of the clinic. He says O-line's the most important position in the game that people don't recognize. That's right. I'm the low man on the totem pole. Offensive line coaches, offensive linemen, we're like the low man on the totem pole. We're like the mushrooms. That's why I'm in the Mushroom Society. I'm the only high school coach ever to be in it, Coach. Talk a little bit about that, not having any respect.
Well, you got all the respect over here, Coach, and that's a good point he makes. You know, and I think that's too why there's such a big emphasis on the O-line specific training. Why it's such a deal now that really wasn't before. You know, because you think of it this way: we're saying that the O-line is the most important part of the team. It's, you know, the engine to the Lambo, but we're not going to put no oil in it, right? Amen. So maybe in 2040 we'll have O-line specific trainers at places. But I'm with you, Joseph.
So right here is one of your videos, Coach. Is this where people can go to your site and purchase this video? How much does it cost? And do you have any packages, Coach? I might even just click on it.
Yeah, yes, sir. So which one is that? So that's our double team. So that's volume 4. So yeah, so it's a drill plan on there. You get on there, you type it in. It's $40. We'll send you your full drill plan, and it gives you just a baseline to look off of. And that one, we're talking A's, B's, C's, singles, doubles, trays, all that good stuff, gap scheme, double teams, zone double teams, all that good stuff, and some good innuendos on there you can use.
Yeah, so I'm on your website now, Coach. I love it. It looks good.
Man, I appreciate it. But yeah, so anybody out there that's checking us out, that anybody, doesn't have time or doesn't have the financial ability, to get one-on-one in training, they can always hit one of those and check it out.
Yeah, so you're really good on social media, Coach. This is great. So this right here, you're just introducing yourself, right? The metaverse. Yeah. So, Coach, virtual reality. All right. I just recently had Reps VR, and Bill Best at Colorado State believes in virtual reality. I got cussed out by Coach McNally over asking him would he put on a virtual reality headset, and he cussed me out because he said I put him on the spot in front of a Green Beret. So are you pro? Yeah, you gotta laugh, man. If you want to laugh, just watch my life. All right. I've only been doing these since January. I've been coaching for 25 years, but yeah. And once I got Coach McNally, it kind of blew up. So are you pro or are you con for virtual reality?
Well, I'm pro different learning styles. So just the world that we live in today, like, for example, we can sit here and have a great talk, great chat. You have a huge platform and things like that. But if you're not able to put that out there, who benefits from it. So I'm pro, whatever gets the players to lock in. And for example, if a guy wants to connect with that metaverse, what that is you'll throw your headset on, you'll have the full O-line specific training deal for about 25 minutes on their intro. Then we'll get together for the rest of that hour and boogie and train together.
Wow. So people can actually train with you in the metaverse.
Yep. And so how it will feel is essentially how we're doing here. So say, hey, Coach, I want to get to working on Wednesday. Perfect. So I'll send you a link. You'll pop in, throw your headset on. Then after you get done with that, we'll get on Zoom. You need about 2 or 3 feet of floor space and we can boogie.
Is it a real person or is it a cartoon character?
So on the metaverse, it's a prepared deal you'll see. So it looked like a whole meeting room, and then you'll be sitting there looking at the screen. We'll talk about gap, scheme, high leg at a 45. The biggest thing with that is just to take all the distractions away. So for example, about 2.5 years ago with some of my younger fellas, they just worked understanding big on big, step on his toes, wipe his nose. So I got them in the metaverse, got them to be able to watch it before we went to the field. It's helped a little bit.
So are these the same? Is this the same kicks that was on there before, Coach? Or is this different?
Yep. So it's the same EDDs, the signature program. And I post them all the time too, because I like to walk it how I talk it. So I tell my guys it's going to take us 10,000 reps until mastery, but we have 8 different angles of departure, aka we have to craft daily, mandatory. So I try to make sure I always do it daily myself.
Now this kid's 6'4", 305. Who is this kid? He's a big old fucker. He looks like a giant.
Yeah, well, this is Big Noah. So he actually done a great job on developing his body. So met him about 2.5 years ago, but he's kicking ass. Excuse my language, but he's coming over from Canada. He's
Coach, you haven't urinated on a bottle yet, and you haven't used the F word, so you're all right.
So, man, he's coming over from Canada. He's kicking butt. He's able to play all 5. He's got his body mass index down about 2.5%, which is really hard for guys in high school. So he's kicking butt, working through just a signature program there. And this is an hour workout put into just 6 seconds.
Wow. So you actually train guys. Is that like on FaceTime?
Yeah, well, Zoom there with the big fella.
Zoom? All right, the drive start. Yep. So it's the same one.
Yep, that's the same one. And then just that first big fella was I was telling you when I was down at Tampa for that time, when they couldn't go in the facility, I was able to get the opportunity to work with those big fellas.
So this kid with the do-rag on, he plays at the University of Miami. And the other kid is at New Mexico military?
Yep. And then the big fella that had the compression shirt on, that's Big Ed Ingram, who's the starting guard with the Vikings. And Brad Seaton, who's a 7-year vet before that. That's Cam Williams.
Ed Ingram's got the white. He's got the white. Where did he play college ball?
LSU.
God, he's compact, man. He's like a rock. Look at his upper body.
Yeah, and the young man after that is Big Olis. He's from Finland. He's playing at Alabama now. He was on the dean's list there with him. So he's actually where you're seeing that one, if I'm not mistaken. He's actually in Finland in that last one. So
wow, he's at Alabama.
Yep. But some of the other big fellas, the national champs, trying to get 3 in a row. Some big fellas here had a chance to get those guys coming through. And, the main leader there at the end, Big Cedric Van Pran. In my opinion, one of the top interior offensive linemen next year's NFL draft. But he's a leader. Instead of being in Cabo, these young men came to get some work in. So just a testament to, them wanting to get better and having a product for them. But yep, working that drive, start there, driving everything through that left big toe, catching it through that right instep, square, ready to boogie.
Boom.
You.
I never even knew until this year about the alternate hand strikes, man. I
Well,
was still doing the old school two
well,
hands.
what's so crazy, Coach, too, is that, you know, there's so many layers to it, you know, and that's why in the online training, I really love it because, you know, you have to have such a more of a open baseline of, you know, just how you do things. For example, on the front side of zone, you know, some guys are to them through them double under, you know, some guys are to them through them pillar backside hand undercut, you know, so no right or wrong way to do it, but love how we have social media.
Do you believe in up kicking?
I like it. It's a tool in the tool belt. So if I'm a MLB pitcher, you know, I wouldn't go out there throwing the four seam every single time, but I believe there's a time and place for it to be able to take the space away and take the air out of the rush.
All right, now this right here, this is controversial,
Coach.
Twitter. So tell me what your thoughts are on this.
Well, before we do that, I'm gonna let you go ahead and give me your thoughts because everybody knows what I think on it, and everybody in the chat.
Oh, really? Well, I'm going to go with what Coach McNally said. He said, "Where's the ball hitting? You know, if the ball's hitting inside, I mean, I would say the offensive lineman won. If the ball's hitting outside, I'd say the defensive end won. But I mean, dude, that's a big thing with you know, Coach McNally right now, and what he's teaching is not to pierce the line of scrimmage because people jump inside of you. And he's gone now to not turning your shoulders and staying square. So
Well,
I mean, heck, what do you think? I mean,
well, so right here, Coach Craig Rowe posted it, and he was praising the defensive lineman for setting the edge, you know, which I would agree that defense lineman did a great job, but I'm exactly with you too. I think he gets displacement on it, you know, and he's able to be able to put a hat on the head, get some stretch base on it. And, you know, just to the point that you're making too, by attacking the defender square, think of it this way. If you had a bar on your back with the most weight you ever squatted, what do your feet look like? You know, you're obviously running off that ball, but the more square you can be, the more surface area we can attack in with, the more movement we can get. And I would say a dub for the O-line here. I mean, the young man does a good job, but he's out of his gap.
Yeah, I mean, and I don't see people holding their gaps like that anymore. I mean, some people might, but most of the time, guys want to make plays, man. You know,
yeah, facts. And if we have any,
they get paid. So your merch. To get your merch, Coach, people just go to your website.
Yep, click the link. We got small through 4X, 5X if you need them too. Send me a DM. And then, you know, just what this is an example of too, if we have any O-line trainers or coaches on here, you know, that are in between jobs, you know, monetize everything. You know, with social media now, I think I have a smaller Instagram account compared to, you know, big people that have a lot of influence, but I've done like 1 million impressions like every month for the past 2 years now, just posting, you know, stuff that I think is specific to my niche.
All right. So this is the 49ers, right? This is Shanahan. This is the wide zone. All right. So you want to talk a little bit about this, Coach?
Yeah, I love it. The biggest emphasis here is that center running his feet through that block, through contact. The whole line does a great job, but the emphasis on the hat speed running off the ball, and especially with younger offensive linemen too, we have to work on running off the ball and creating force through the defender. So this is a great look of it, great hat speed. Love how the right guard's going and running that linebacker and getting some hands on him. And love how the center's finishing on it, and they're straight on the backside as well.
But the one thing I see, Coach, on that is the left guard. Like that dude, he keeps his shoulders square, and that center might not make that block if he just forgets about his buddy inside, you know?
And look at that hat speed too. It's beautiful.
Boom. I mean, that's it right there, man. I mean,
yes, sir. And any young offense. Sorry about that. Any young offensive lineman watching too, take a note of their angle of departure.
Now talk a little bit about that, Coach. I'll go back.
Yeah, so think of it this way, man. So like Coach was saying earlier, where's the ball hitting here? Where are we trying to get to? Okay. So that left guard, he can't vacate. He can't vacate him, but he still has to take his footwork to the zone, through the zone, and put a meat hook on him to open that hip up. Now he's running on that backer. And the biggest thing that, you know, I love this clip so much is that they're straining to finish. One thing I tell guys all the time is that, you know, you have to crush a grown man's dream. right? So I get guys coming all the time, from all different situations, levels and things like that. And, I think that you got to crush a grown man's dream and strain to finish. So any young fellas watching, understand that you cannot teach effort. You cannot teach strain. That's something between you and you.
Yeah. And Chris Forster, he's the O-line coach for them, right?
I believe so. Yep. Big said working that drive start.
Yeah. So uncommon O-line pride. What do you mean by that, Coach? What's on that hoodie there?
So that's really the slogan for the 2023 campaign. We want to be uncommon. I'm sure that a lot of people are privy to a coach named Tony Dungy, his mindset. Yeah, and then when it comes to the O-line pride, is that what are we doing? Why, how, when, what? We understand that there's only two type of players, right? Current and former. The ones that are former are here to teach. The ones that are here in current are here to craft. So they can extend that life and shelf time. So the uncommon O-line pride, it's who I am. Without technique, probably wouldn't know each other, right? Real blessed to be able to do a lot of things, but that's just our slogan for the program.
Yeah, so there you are, Coach. You retweeted me. I appreciate that, Coach. What can I ask you something?
Mm-hmm.
Why are some guys so anti retweeting? Like what happened, man?
Yeah. Well, what I found too is that some type of guys are different social media guys. So I was pretty lucky because I had, a friend that's a musician that was able to be independent and monetize his whole deal. So I'm active on social media. I see the value in it. I think every business owner could use 10 more clients, but some people just aren't that big on it. You know what I mean? So it just depends on the guy. But I'm the type where, when it comes to the content, I was always taught that we have to get out minimum 3 to 5 pieces a day. Because you think of it, there's morning, noon, and night scrollers. So I think we probably have to mention them 3 times a day before we probably get one retweet in today's society. And I don't think it's, anything personal, but, most people just going through their daily routine.
Yes. So coach me up a little bit more on that. Monetizing and social media. What are like the top 3 things in both of them, Coach?
Yeah. Well, so when you think of it now, who has cable anymore?
Nobody.
It's not important.
An 80-year-old man, my dad.
Yeah, but it's like, what's most of the globe on all day, every day?
Yeah, streaming. Yeah.
Yeah, well, and so it's just one of those things, like, I was saying earlier, where it's monetizing everything that we have going on. So, for example, like how you guys have monetized your podcast, and when it comes to the drill work, having something that people can click on and digest on their own time, has been the biggest thing where I find a little bit more success. And then when it comes to, social media, that applies to any, entrepreneur out there, whether you're underwater basket weaving or you sell candles, you have to minimum post 3 to 5 times a day. Because you think of it, you can probably afford to go buy a nice car at the dealership right now. Pretty sure you can. But
I don't know, Coach. I'm the low man on the totem pole, man.
You can afford a Civic, Coach. I don't want to hear that. You can afford a Honda Civic. But point being, what do you have to motivate you to do that? You know what I mean? It's kind of was where it at with that social media, where you just have to keep putting it in front of them and let them know what you have going on.
Yeah. So here you go. Who is this? Is that the Browns?
Yep, Big Wyatt. So talking about some
He's from Virginia. That's Wyatt Tiller, right?
Yep. And anybody watching with us, so I'm a huge stickler on stance. So, I believe, a lot of things, nothing's right or wrong, just how some people teach it. But, for our straight toe connoisseurs on here with us, I'm with you. I respect it. I value your opinion. But I feel like biometrically, just with having that outside toe turned down, getting that midsole, aka the instep in that ground, knee inside ankle, the adductor engaged, you're in a better biometric position like this guy is right here. You can't tell me this guy can't take a pass hit or take a base block. Obviously, probably be in a 3-point if he was run blocking, but looks balanced to me.
Yeah, and his hands. I mean, his hands are, he's not cocking them back. He's not bringing them up. Them junks is out there to get his hands on that defensive guy like Craig Rowe. I like to keep doing Craig Rowe on here together. I've had Craig on before, but those defensive linemen, boom! I mean,
now,
yeah, they're on you right now, and they're cleaning you, man. They're power cleaning, and they're snatching you, man.
Man, it's crazy because when I first got to Dallas, so when I was working at D-Ville, matter of fact, I was training at a place called A+D1, and there was Coach BT Jordan that was working there as well, and it was Von Miller's, facility as well. And just to see how much emphasis they put on those 3 reps a game, right? Because you think of any great defensive lineman, if they get home 2 to 3 times a game or freaking a week. That's an all-pro year. But it's just crazy to see how much emphasis they're putting on that first step and how fast that shoulder's getting collapsed.
Yeah. So what are you talking about here, Coach?
Yep. So crafting the center stance. So biggest thing I teach guys, we were at that center where the lead sumo wrestler, right? Turn those toes out, gauge those adductors, reach down, grab that ball. And right there, I'm talking as if I have a fat daddy one nose shade on that snap hand, working the snap and trigger, getting that offhand, protecting that chest.
Mm-hmm. Same thing here, or is this different?
Yep. Same thing there. Working that stance, crafting that stance, trying to get those 3 to 5 pieces of content out.
Man, you've coached me up, man. I've gotten a lot out of this already, man. So I know anybody that hasn't seen this before. So how do you make these things? Is this from TikTok? How do you do this with this? I'm just asking you about your social media. Is this a song and it's like the lyrics?
Well, so that's a old podcast, just like we're doing now. So that's a picture from when I was in London, like I was saying 2.5 years ago, whenever that was, out there running my mouth, yapping. And that's just the podcast behind it when I used an app called Video Leap. Video Leap is awesome.
Yeah, I know Video Leap.
Yeah, so I used that. Then I went to Instagram and hit the captions button. And then it took the audio that I placed on there with the Video Leap and just did it that way.
Man. Because I have 140 podcasts since January.
That's awesome.
All kinds of stuff. Yeah, I need to learn more, man. I saved every single one of them on StreamYard.
That's good, man. Well, and then too, I learned a lot of stuff by messing it up over time.
Yeah, no doubt. Me too. All right, so those are your kicks. There's your Georgia guys.
Yeah, but you
who's this big guy right here?
That's Big Ed. He's one of the starting guards for the Vikings, working just a signature set tree that we were talking about earlier, driving force down to the background. And
how tall is he?
He's about, I believe, 6'3", 6'2", maybe without shoes.
Wow.
Some power.
He's not a giant, but look how he's built.
Yeah, and there's some powers in his hands, huge quads too. And he's built how you like. And then if you scroll up above that too, Coach.
Yeah,
this is one of the ones that's a set and settle. So it's just the next progression of it. Getting back square, landing at that point of contact. So isolating the movements, getting back on that angle square, ready to strike him off you. And then he's going to set instead of a big chief, getting flat, redirecting. Biggest thing, getting these big fellas moving, getting the blood pumping, getting yourself warmed up, ready to go. And if we have any O-linemen out here watching, understand, like we said earlier, your O-line coach does not have an extra 3.5 hours to train you and work with you every day, but you have an extra 15 minutes you can get some stuff in on your own. And here's a good thing if you don't have any ideas.
I mean, those guys are the best in the world. They won the national championship 2 years in a row, and they're getting extra work.
Yeah, it could have been in Cabo, but decided to bring the whole group and get some work in.
Yeah, no doubt, man. Was you still working on your sets?
Yeah,
right, big man right here. Is he Texas?
Yeah, well, that's Big Hunter. He's a 2026 recruit. So new to the program.
He plays high school football.
Yep, 2026 when he graduates. Getting after it.
I'm glad I ain't got to coach against him.
Well, what's so crazy too is I believe the DFW the Dallas-Fort Worth area had about 40 athletes at the combine this year, and it makes sense because just how big the football is in the area.
Yeah. How big is he?
He is about 6'3", 265.
Wow, he only weighs 265 pounds.
Lean now.
I thought he was over 300, man.
Lean now.
Yeah, that's a big kid, man.
And if you scroll up there, Coach.
Yeah.
That right there, that's Big Dare that ran that 4.8 at the combine. And then there's a volleyball in that pick too. People probably won't understand, but that summer when I was back, working with some of the Buccaneers in Tampa, Coach Gilbert had him working with the volleyball. And I didn't understand it at first, but the biggest thing, you have a guy that can't keep his hands here, able to protect his chest, put that volley in between those hands, back. Then when it's time to strike, you're going to strike and press through the defender, then let that volleyball fall. So that's another one for if you guys are struggling with your guys keeping their hands protecting their chest. I would teach a guy Wu-Tang for life, right? Throwing up that W for life. But, if it's harder for that guy to get that conceptual idea down, you can put that in between his hands, take his set to strike and press through that, strike through the defender.
Yeah, no doubt. So this is Hayden here, Coach.
Yep, another big fella in the area. He's a 6'8" young man out of Denton, Texas, getting some work in. He's picking up some good offers.
6'8". Wow. So how long did it take you to get these like 34,000 followers? How long have you really been hitting it hard on the social media?
Well, I would probably say about maybe 3.5, 4 years now. And then probably about 2.5 years now, posting every single day, minimum of 4 times a day. And my end goal too, I'm gonna, scale up even more. But it's just biggest thing, keep getting the content out there because people are morning, noon, and night scrollers. So
what's your thought process? Let's say you got like, is it tweet 1, 2, and 3, or is it like tweet 1 twice, tweet 2 twice?
Well, it's on every program and every platform. But essentially, it's just what concepts I want to hit, like what season it is. So, for example, I work with a really good, I had a chance to talk with a really good social media marketing. Her name is Nikki Saunders that works with, Dr. Eric Thomas. And one thing that she said to me that really changed my business was, what season is it? It's the season to start from the ground up. It's the season to dominate our stance. It's the season to dominate, nutrition. It's the season to dominate our angle departure, yada, yada, yada. But how do you make that digestible as a coach? So trying to put that out there for the guys that care to pay attention.
So say it again, because I'm a slow learner, man.
Oh, no,
so there's a different season for everything.
Yeah, and so essentially the season that we're in now is just like the full go for the O-line specific training. So essentially what I want to cover with guys now just our base, innuendos, a stance, a start, a run game, something with striking. And then you can just work off that. And I have, content out the Yahoo. So if any coaches are watching, make sure you record everything, because I don't know about you guys. Not going to be around for forever, right? But if you can have that, for your guys, that's something they can always come back to. So just trying to get something out there.
Let's say you put out a tweet at 8 a.m. Do you put out that same tweet again later that day?
Well, usually the early ones are attack the dream with enthusiasm unknown to mankind. That's probably usually.
Yeah, just go through your whole day, because, dude, you know the stuff. All right,
yeah.
Hold
on
I'm gonna take this thing down, because, dude, you learn from some guys that are pretty high level.
Yeah,
right, because I don't know, you know it so well. See, I'm getting my book out. I don't write. If you're watching my podcast, I don't write a lot of stuff down. But okay, so go ahead and go through your whole day.
Well, I'm a weirdo coach, so and then I'm real lucky too, to be able to coach O-line for a living. So I'm probably up anywhere around 4, and then try to get one tweet out there. You should be attack the dream with enthusiasm unknown to mankind.
Attack the dream with the enthusiasm unknown to mankind.
Yes, sir.
Have you ever had anyone ask you specifically about how you tweet?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you have?
Well, not that in this way, but yeah. So just get something like that, just setting the mindset, just something that I want to remind my guys of and remind myself of.
Okay, so attack the dream with what is it?
Enthusiasm unknown.
Enthusiasm unknown to mankind. Okay, I got that. So that's around 4 a.m. Okay, so then when's the next tweet?
And then it's more likely coming right after. It's going to be one form of merch. More likely, if it's now, it's going to be some uncommon O-line pride merch, or just something that they can click on and digest.
Okay, so you hit them with this is the start of the day. Then you hit them with the merch. Is it right behind one boom to boom?
Yep, and there's in between there, but it's going to be some mindset merch, and then the training schedule for the day.
Okay, so when you hit them with the training schedule too, right in the morning?
Yep, a little bit afterwards. And
okay, so now we're up to 3 tweets. So when do we tweet again, or when do you tweet again?
Well, I should be doing it probably in about another hour and a half after that with something technique specific. Either that be a set tree or instructional drill tape.
Technique specific. So me having a podcast and having 140 at least 1 hour. I mean, I have tons of content already that I could just pull things from, like you're doing. It won't be me, but it could be video of the coach talking.
Yeah, exactly.
So attack the dream with an enthusiasm unknown to mankind, then some merch, then a training schedule, and then technique specific. When do you do the technique specific? Is that 10 a.m.? What?
It fluctuates. So probably about 12 to 2. And then I have some scheduled off Instagram. So I can usually do them the night before and then just copy that throughout the day to make it a little bit easier.
Okay, so after the 12 to 2, what are you doing?
Usually
you do merch every time?
Yeah, I try to do merch 3 times, but it's sprinkled in there sporadically because people are morning, noon, and night scrollers.
Okay.
But yeah, and then just minimum try to just keep getting that out there and be, as active as I can with it, start conversations.
So at night, what are you thinking? What are you doing? Are you doing the same thing you did in the morning, or?
Yeah, well, so tonight I'm having just a Twitter space talking through a few things. And then whatever is, interesting that comes around or any ideas or promoting something that comes up.
Yeah, or if you see something else that you think is cool. So there is actually, you kind of, you begin with the end in mind. Like,
yeah, you have to.
Specific, you're intentional with what you're doing.
Well, then think of it this way too, Coach. I mean, I don't know about you, but we're not going to be around for forever. But there's going to be dudes after.
Oh, I know I'm not. My heart's going to explode. I'm going to have a stroke.
Well, but point being, though, Coach, that you have something that people come back to and they can learn from, which I think is powerful. That's why I think, podcasting in general, this is an awesome deal.
Yeah, man. When I started this, my young assistant coach told me, he said, don't do it. He said, you talk too much. People are going to get to know what you think, and how you feel about football. Because I don't talk football with anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But, so you're very intentional. So how many tweets are you sending out a day?
So if we're really on our game, there should be somewhere around 10, but more likely there's usually lands around 5.
I mean, basically I could just copy you or just look and see what your schedule is.
Well, and then look at guys like Gary Vee or, Dr. Eric Thomas. So, think of a guy like, have you ever heard of Eric Thomas?
Yeah, I know. I love him.
Awesome. And so the only difference between, him and any other speaker in the world is just he's monetized social to a T.
How?
Well, just how they've gone about it. I don't know his exact process, but I'm just saying, like, that's what they've done with just their routines with it.
I mean, you've been to a conference with those guys.
I need to be the one of the only conferences I've been to we're lucky to go was LaCharles Bentley's conference in 2016. So I checked that one out, but I need to check out one. They have one coming up called UOU. I need to log in online, but it's
what does UOU stand for?
Well, that's what Dr. Eric Thomas's conference is called too. So that's just the name of his conference he has coming up.
UOU.
Mm-hmm. And he has a book he dropped with that same tagline.
What does it stand for? Is it that I owe myself? UOU?
I believe so. I haven't had the chance to get one yet, but I believe that's the impotence of it.
Okay, so like right now I see here you got like a teal and a gold. Mm-hmm. Is there any reason for that? Did you change the colors for a reason?
Well, so I'll be lying if I told you I remember the meaning of colors I learned when I was in class in college, but that's just something that I make on my own. So just trying to switch
up. What program you use for that?
So I use just Poster My Wall for that.
Poster My Wall?
Yep, postermywall.com or Adobe or Canva are all really good.
See, I like Video Leap. I've been using Video Leap for a long time on my phone. I understand that.
Yeah, I love it.
That's Poster My Wall.
Yep.
And so how do you do these things right here? Is this all Video Leap?
Yeah, and then some are just from the camera to Instagram too, and I chop them up on there.
And you got other languages right there.
Yep. So there's a bunch of, like we were saying earlier, like, it's kind of mind blowing when you think of it. There's over 500,000 online athletes, all different levels, all over the globe. And there's a bunch of followers I've had from whether it be Brazil, all over. So China, there's O-linemen everywhere that you can think of.
Yeah, they're everywhere, man. I want some guys from the Netherlands. I want some Vikings. So maybe big Germans.
Well, Ethan Morton, he's a 6'9" O tackle from South Australia. He's going to be making the way over to the U.S. sometime soon. So if any coaches are on here, make sure you guys go look him up on Instagram. Ethan Morton from South
How old is he?
He's 16 years old.
And he's 6'9"?
Yeah, well, excuse me, 6'10" in cleats. Good
gosh. I don't know. I've only heard of one guy that's that tall, Sam Young.
Yeah, yep. Tall. And Dan Skipper.
Who's Dan play for?
I think he's still with the Lions.
Yeah, I like the Lions. So how do you make these thumbnail things for your videos? What is that? Is that Poster My Wall too?
Yeah, or Adobe or Canva. So for example, my wife will make a few of those too, and she'll use Canva. And then you can put that just on my site like I used through Squarespace, and that's just a link to the the paid videos. So if someone isn't, financially able to pay for a one-on-one, they can always click the link and be able to learn about a set tree, do it on their own, then send their film in.
Yeah. So Squarespace, is that like your Patreon or?
Yeah. Yep. So if any coaches are out there, if you have a training business, make sure that you dedicate some time to it, make it a little bit easier on yourself on the back end.
Yeah. So why do you like Squarespace better than Patreon?
Well,
I don't know. I just started a Patreon. I don't know nothing about it.
Well, I'm the same way. I don't really have a good background in the Patreon, but Squarespace is with the website hosting, and it makes everything to keep it in-house.
Okay, right on. Man, I'll tell you, dude, you just ain't an O-line coach. Like you understand marketing. You understand social media. Like,
yeah, well, because if you look at it too, you're the same thing. We're media companies at the end of the day, and just our niche is just offensive line that care about it.
Man. So basically, me getting you on here, I've really learned a lot, man. I mean, just about, you got so much merchandise here, and I mean your O-line stuff, man, coach. So let's say, coach, that there's a kid on here who he's watching, or his mom's watching, or his dad's watching, and he might be a 10th grader. Let's say he's a junior, coach, getting ready to be a senior, make it easy. And he's a 6'5" guy, and he's a pretty good football player. What should he do to get a scholarship?
The biggest thing I would say to guys is, first off is to get that routine cooking, you know what I mean? So that time comes where that coach turns on your tape from game 8, rep 55. You can see what he wants to see, something that he is willing to invest in. So the biggest thing I tell dudes all the time is get that battle rhythm going, hell or high water. What are you doing to get yourself prepped for the test that is going to come? And then on the back office side of it, away from the football field, guys have to understand is that, this is pre-pro football or amateur football to a T now. Right. So the biggest thing I tell guys that you have to reach out to at least 10 coaches every week. There's over 460 places that offer scholarships off every different level. But are you hitting them up consistently? And I tell my guys, whether, you're in Alaska, you're in Dallas, I don't care where you are. Do you have a Shark Tank mentality? So right now, coach, we want to get both of our businesses to Shark Tank. How many calls would it take us to get there? Probably 10,000 until somebody cares, right? So I tell them take that same mindset and hitting these dudes up. Hey, coach, how you doing? Hey, coach, how you doing? Hitting those DMs up. So then that time comes where they know that they need a guy. Boom. Okay. Big Evan from Arkansas. You know what I mean? And biggest thing just to try to keep building that relationship because, like I know most online coaches in America are great dudes, but probably don't have the authority just to make, the calls off for guys on the spot. So you got to build a rapport with them. I'll keep telling this kid to keep reaching out to him, and then the guys have put interest in you, put interest back in them by keep following up and, building that relationship. I don't care if it's a D3 school or wherever, if they offer a scholarship or even if they get you a favorable situation, you should be hitting them up.
Oh, yeah. So if you're a 6-foot offensive lineman, you got some kids who, they don't want to play offensive line because they don't think they can make it to the NFL as an offensive lineman because they're only 5'10". Well, there ain't many guys going. And
yes.
So what advice would you give those guys? 6-foot offensive linemen.
Well, not to be an a-hole, but the biggest thing that I'll tell them is that if they believe that, then they're right. If they think you can't, you can't. But the guys that are undersized that make it are the ones that that are ass kickers. The face eaters. Like look at guys like
David win.
Yeah, and look at guys like David Malk, who was All-American at Michigan at 5'10" on a good day.
UNC's got a 5'10" offensive lineman that was a center. What was it? What's the school in Myrtle Beach? Coastal Carolina.
Yeah, Coastal.
Yeah, UNC's got an offensive guard that's short. I thought it was spring ball.
Yeah, and I tell dudes, any younger guys I deal with, make them mandatory long and short snap. Want a mandatory long and short snap just to provide some value. But, it's one of those things where, you got to be uncommon, and the opportunity is going to come and got to kick some ass when you get there. One guy I had in pre-draft 2 years ago, Xavier Newman from Baylor, he's going to his second year with the Titans now, stereotypical undersized guy, but he's an ass kicker, So biggest thing you have, a lot less leeway, and I tell guys all the time that nobody gets treated the same, but you just hope to get treated fairly. So just make sure that you're on point, that you have those small fundamentals checked so you can be in there, be a binky guy. So Coach Magnazu was a guy that I had a chance to talk and learn with a little bit. And his thing was, are you a binky guy? You give a baby a binky, it stops bitching. That's what
Are you a binky guy? That's like being a diva, like being
a. Well, how he kind of spun it was that if you give a baby a binky, it stops bitching. So can you get in there and stop the bleeding at center? Can you get in there and be a swing guy and one of those guards? So I thought it was interesting.
Binky guy, got it. Let's say there's a coach on here. Maybe he's a young guy, 25, coaching high school ball. I mean, he's maybe thinking about starting his own business, going into the private sector, private training and coaching like yourself. I mean, when did you know that was the route for you and not just to stay in high school or, try to get a college job?
Yeah, well, so it's so ironic you say that because, I believe it was at Duncanville. I had a tweet where I was going to be the next minority O-line coach in college. And then I got the opportunity to be in the spring league as a pro coach, which I didn't expect. To the young coach out there, I would say, start it now and attack it now. And the harder you hit it to begin with, the more that you'll have to come back to on the back end. For example, any coach out there, you have immediate value if you get started. So think of any group that you've dealt with. What's something that you told them or you did them do at home? Did they do it? No. But if they knew you and your business, they probably have a reason to do it, right? That you both have an equitable interest. So like I tell dudes all the time, there's 500,000 dudes in the world right now that don't know their a-hole from their elbow. So if you can just be, put together a program, for 55 minutes that provides value, you can provide, yourself an extra stream of income. And when you look at it too, like we said earlier, what's the most important part of football? What's the engine to the Lambo? The offensive line. But who's getting oil? Who's getting oil changes? Who's working on their technique on their own? Who's being like an Ed Ingram and as soon as you get done with the offseason, coming back to get some extra work in to gain your unconscious consciousness, So biggest thing I would say out there is that, always start with why with your business, but stay at ground zero. So the biggest thing that I focus on, I'm real blessed to do it with NFL guys on the daily, but I'm in phase 1. I need 10 more clients. And, I don't know if anybody else out there, business owners, but I don't care if you sell candles, 10 more clients changes things. So any high school coach out there, I love you and I appreciate you for doing what you're doing, but your family probably can get a little bit more if you're able to monetize your experience. Because think of it this way, Big Johnny in Alaska, who has a good O-line coach, but has been exposed, he's in a right-handed stance at left tackle. And that's okay, but is that going to help him in his recruitability? So, guys out there, I don't want to over talk and, keep rambling, coach, but, start the business, get it going, find some customers, stay in phase 1. And then, in my, situation, I was able to start Fairs Never Final back in 2018. And, that's what LT2 is a subsidiary of, and I'm, in the process of building a few more businesses out. So trying to branch out even more, build a few more legs of the foundation.
And what do those consist of? Can you talk about that now, or is it just?
So it was low income housing. So back in my hometown, I was really lucky to be able to get into some contract for deeds real estate. So for example, there were 2 houses, about $50K total, but the one that I had tenant in it was able to paying the rent for the other one. So eventually trying to get that going on out here in Dallas, but it's really competitive. So I'm gonna find some land, build some container homes, and keep it cranked up. So that's
container homes, like the metal containers that the ships bring the stuff in.
Yeah. They're making modular homes, and I'll send you a link when we get off here. There's a young lady that was in Africa that actually built, a housing community out of I think 8 of them, which is nuts. But so we're getting to.
They have a restaurant here in Richmond that's outside of a mall, and it's like a seafood restaurant. And they made the junk out of the.
I believe it. What's the name of it? Well, I'll text you now. We'll find
it's in Chesterfield. It's at Chesterfield Town Center. They were going to call it Shrimp Shack, but they changed the name because there's already a Scrimp Shack, and it would have been real confusing, man, to have a Shrimp Shack and a Scrimp Shack. All right, I'll tell you this. Chesterfield, I'll tell you, Coach. Chesterfield Mall Seafood. It'll come right up, Coach. I'll even be able to. It's called the Island Shrimp Company.
Yeah,
the Island, and I'll show you a picture of it, Coach. Island Shrimp Company. I'll pull it up. Put it on the screen. Island Shrimp Company, Chesterfield, Virginia. All right, images. There you go. I'm gonna show this to you, Coach. All right, it's right here. See it?
Come on now. There it is.
It's a restaurant.
The future of affordable housing.
Yeah, this is the mall, and then this is the restaurant.
Come on now, future of affordable housing.
Have you ever seen one before?
Mm-hmm.
Have you have seen a restaurant that's made out of it?
Oh no, not a restaurant. I've seen just the modular homes.
Hey man, that's why you're smart. I'm very impressed with you. You're smart. You can talk. You can think. You're sharp, man.
Man, I appreciate it,
dude. You'll be right up there with Eric Thomas.
Well, I appreciate it. And then I think what's so dope too, anybody that gets a chance to watch this, you know what I mean, is start building that brand now. You know what I mean? Because it's awesome that if we have any high school coaches on here that you get you guys coached up, you're kicking ass and all that good stuff. But there's more out there, And I think if anybody watches me, follows my come up, I just want you to understand, like, it's from the ground up. It's nothing special. It's just consistent.
It is, Coach, and I'm gonna continue to follow you. Thank you for coming on. Is there anything else that we left out, Coach, that you'd like to say?
Man, no. Well, if anybody's out there, take a chance to be a champion, and any, players on here, understand that you're more than an athlete. Okay. Before we get off, understand that, we can never let our self-worth be predicated off performance. Okay. Mm-hmm. Never let our self-worth be predicated off performance, meaning, that you're going to be a son, uncle, brother, father, for way longer than an athlete. Okay. So make the most of it while you're in it.
Hey man, you can make a short out of that, any of this, Coach. I mean, you're impressive, man. So thank you for coming on, Coach. I'd like to get you back on here sometime.
Hell yeah. Just let me know. I appreciate your time, Coach.
Thank you, brother.
Hell yeah.
All right. I'm going to